Welcome, everyone, to the Becoming Engaged podcast, where we explore faith, life, and everything in between. I'm Natalia, Cheryl's virtual assistant, and we're thrilled to have you join us today. We're currently delving into an exciting series entitled, The Story, the Bible as One Continuing Story of God and His People. It's a journey through the Bible, discovering how each part contributes to the incredible narrative of God's relationship with humanity. If you're joining us on Facebook, don't forget to like and share this episode with friends and family. And for our YouTube listeners, make sure to hit that like button to support the podcast. Your engagement helps us reach more people and grow our community. Now, grab your Bible, find a comfortable spot, and let's dig into the Word together. We believe that every page, every verse, brings us closer to understanding the vastness of God's love and plan. So let's embark on this journey and uncover the richness of the Bible, one story at a time. Thank you for being here, and let's get started.
Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Hope you all are having an amazing Tuesday and the beginning of an amazing week. I am excited. We are jumping back in to our weekly podcast, to our weekly Bible study. We are in the story. We are going through the Bible in story form chronologically. And thank you all so much for joining. If you are here, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge favor. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and like and share. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and share it. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button so that we can get this through the algorithms and to more people that need it. Again, thank you so much for joining. And as you are here, jump in the comments and just say hello so that I can see who is joining and who is with us on tonight. I am excited about this. We are in lesson number 6 of this study, and we're going to be talking about wanderings, the children in Israel wandering through the desert and all that meant, all that was, all that they had to go through. Wandering. So I don't know if you've ever been in a season or a time in your life where you felt like you were just going in circles. You were going round and round and things weren't going quite like you wanted. Hey Val, thanks so much for sharing. I appreciate it. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. What it means, what it feels like to be wandering. Hey Lady Coretta, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. So I'm so excited to dig into the lesson on tonight. Most of you know, before we jump into the lesson, we do our trivia, and we always do trivia before we go into the lesson to kind of see where we are, how much we know or don't know, how much remember, how much we don't remember about the particular stories that we're doing. And so remember, we're talking about the children of Israel and Moses, the wandering season, them wandering in the wilderness and the things that happened while they were there. So I'm just going to jump and we're going to quickly go to our trivia section. And so I want y'all to get y'all hats on, get ready. We've been doing this for quite a minute, going through this. And I did tell you all that I am making note of who's participating in our trivia and the answers that you're getting corrected, because payday is coming after a while, so don't fret. We're going to reward some people for just being so diligent when it comes to jumping in and sharing and joining in on our trivia. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in to the trivia. Let's go ahead down here. And so let's see in the trivia. Hold on just a sec. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go into question number 1 for the trivia. It's why did the Lord give the Israelites so much quail to eat? Why did the Lord give the Israelites so much quail to eat? And if y'all remember, the Israelites, they were complaining about, well, we should have been back in, Egypt. We had meat to eat. We had leeks. We had pomegranates. They were complaining about not having meat to eat. And so the Lord sent them quail from every direction. And so that question is, why did the Lord give them so much? Not number, but A is God didn't want anyone to see him while he talked. Lord, let me see what. B, okay, I see Val says D already. B, God wanted to make sure that people heard him clearly. Wait a minute, y'all. Let me see something. This looks wrong. Hold on, saints. This don't look right. Let me do something real quick. This looks funny to me. Let's see something. Okay. Y'all. Okay, I think this is wrong. Hold on. I'm looking at these answers. I was like, this doesn't look right. And it is wrong. So y'all, we just gonna go ahead and Belle said, nah, we're gonna go ahead. My correct slide didn't upload. Those are so wrong. This is from last week. These answers are from last week. So we're gonna just skip this particular question. I don't know what had happened right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to question number 2, because y'all forgive me for that, because that one was wrong. Now let me see if question 2 is right. Let's see if I uploaded all the wrong ones. Let's see. Okay, this one is right. I don't know what happened with question number 1. But here on question 2, it says, why did Joshua and Caleb believe the Israelites could take the promised land? Why did Joshua and Caleb believe the Israelites could take the promised land? Was it A, they believed the Israelite army was better trained? Was it B, they believed they had the element of surprise? Was it C, they believed the protection of the Canaanite people was gone? Or was it D, they believed they had superior numbers? So out of the 4 of those, why did Joshua and Caleb believe that the Israelites could take the promised land? Out of the 10 spies, these were the 2 people that says, nah, we got this. We can take this land. Which one is it? A, B, C, or D? So go ahead and drop your answers in the comments. Did they believe they were better trained? A, did they believe they had the element of surprise? B, was it C, they believed the Canaanite people, their protection was gone? Or was it D, they believed they had superior numbers? I see Lady Valerie has A. And y'all, like I said, don't be afraid to drop your answers in here. We are learning together, so don't be embarrassed. Don't be fearful. We are learning together, and we're gonna get this. We're gonna learn the Bible. We're gonna learn the Word, and we're gonna know it for ourselves. So go ahead, drop those answers in the comments. And while I'm waiting for you all to go ahead and drop those in the comments, I'm going to go ahead and move to question number 3. Let's see. Sorry about that. Hold up, y'all. Something is happening. What is going on? Oh, wow. Y'all, I don't know what is going on. The devil tonight is the devil. Let me see something. Hold on a sec. Let me. He don't want y'all to get this trivia. Okay, I'm going to try it. One more again. I don't know what happened to my trivia slides, y'all. Okay, let's see. Let's try question number 3. Let's see if it works. Okay, here we go. It says, when Joshua was chosen to replace Moses, what spirit was recognized in him? When Joshua was chosen to replace Moses, what spirit was recognized in him? Was it A, he had the spirit of leadership? Was it B, he had the spirit of humility? Was it C, he had the spirit of wisdom? Or was it D, he had the spirit of inspiration? Which one of those? Hey, Lady Doris, thanks so much for jumping in. Hey, Leslie, thanks so much for jumping in. I see Leslie says B, and Lady Doris says D. So which one, A, B, C, or D? Drop those answers in the comments. What was the spirit that Moses recognized, and Val says A, he had the spirit of leadership. Awesome, awesome. So let's jump to the last question, and that's question number 4. And that question says, why did Moses challenge the people to choose life? Was it A, they would then be able to love the Lord their God? Is it B, they would be able to listen to the voice of the Lord? Is it C, they would then be able to hold fast to God? Or is it D, all of the above? Why did Moses challenge the people to choose life? So go ahead and drop those answers in. Is it A, B, C, or D? And I see Leslie says it's D. And I have Valerie that also says it's D. All right, I'm going to give everybody else maybe just a couple more seconds to jump in with your answers. And then we'll go into our Bible lesson. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the video queued up for our lesson on tonight. So you can still go ahead and drop those answers in. Remember, we are watching participation and correct answers. So even as I go to queue up the video, feel free to go ahead and drop your answers in the comments. And so we'll go ahead and queue up our video, and then we'll be back right after the video.
This is your story, this is my story, but most of all, this is the greatest story ever told. This is God's story. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites." At the end of 40 days, they returned from exploring the land. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community at Kadesh in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them and to the whole assembly and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account: "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruits, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, "The land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "So tell them, 'As surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very thing I heard you say. In this wilderness your bodies will fall. Every one of you 20 years old or more who has counted in the census and who has grumbled against me. Not one of you will enter the land I swore with uplifted hand to make your home. For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will suffer for your sins and know what it is like to have me against you."
There's nothing like a vacation. The end destination might be the Grand Canyon or Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or the beaches of Destin, Florida, or even a foliage trip in the fall in the Northeast. The end destination is great once you arrive, but sometimes the road trip getting there is a whole nother story. The most common aggravation of a road trip is the children's inability to handle the trip. When I was a kid, our family traveled in a wood-paneled station wagon. There were 6 of us crammed into one car. There were no TVs, no video games, no iPods to occupy our time. And we would wiggle, touch each other, get into each other's space, argue, and constantly call out to our dad, "Are we there yet?" My mom and dad would start off by reaching their arm to the back seat and smack us. Finally, my dad would blow a gasket and he'd say, "If you don't stop fighting, I'm going to turn this car around and head back home." Now, he never did it, but we always thought he was capable of it. The second major problem with road trips is when the driver makes a wrong turn and takes you way out of your way. This happened to Roseanne and me years ago. We were traveling back to Fort Worth from San Antonio, and I turned the wheel over to Roseanne so I could take a nap, and I told her to simply stay on this road until we arrived in Fort Worth. Now, how hard could that be? Well, several hours later, she woke me up saying, "Are we supposed to be in Houston?" Now, I'm usually a nice guy, but this was well beyond my capacity to hold it in, and I expressed my extreme disappointment in her. This wrong turn cost us 5 hours. I took over the wheel and started heading back, only to discover that the place where we made the wrong turn was when I was driving. Now, I hate when that happens. Of course, it's harder to make wrong turns today. We have the GPS, Global Positioning Satellite. There's this GPS gal, we call ours Karen, who has a view from above. She can see everything from beginning to end. She tells us when to turn right, and she tells us when to turn left. Ours does it in an Australian accent. She's really quite lovely. Whenever she tells me to turn right, and I have the hunch that left would be faster, she doesn't say, "I said turn right, you idiot." She just says in a calm voice, "Recalculating." Well, today we have come to chapter 6, and in this chapter, the story and Israel are on a spectacular road trip. Their end destination is Canaan, the land God promised to give the Israelites 650 years earlier. Moses is the driver. The children of Israel are in the back seat. They are driving across the desert of Sinai on their way to the fertile land of Canaan, a place flowing with milk and honey. Instead of 4 kids in the back seat, Moses has somewhere between 1 to 3 million kids. This experience will be like herding cats. The kids of Israel are starting to get restless. They start fighting and complaining in the back seat. 3 instances are recorded in the story. First, they complain about their general hardships. Then they complain about the food they have to eat. Finally, Miriam and Aaron get into it. They are Moses' brother and sister. They start doing that backseat driver kind of complaining. Why does Moses get to drive all the time? They question why God only speaks to Moses. On all 3 occasions, God pulls over the car and disciplines them. These 3 instances are not the only ones, just the ones recorded in the story. We are told that there are some 10 outbreaks of juvenile behavior from the children of Israel. Now, it's one thing for the kids to complain in the back seat. It's another thing altogether when the driver makes a wrong turn. This is what happens in Numbers chapter 13. Let me read it to you. The Lord said to Moses, "Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I'm giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders." These 12 leaders are the drivers for their families, and whole tribes for that matter, and are going to explore the land of Canaan, the final destination, the land God is promising to give to them. Now remember, it's been over 400 years since any Israelite has seen this land. In chapter 6, it tells us that they're gone for 40 days and come back and give Moses a report. They tell him that the land is awesome, but that the people are numerous and gigantic, and that they would beat them up badly if they tried to take their land. So they decide not to move forward out of fear. The story tells us that God says back to them, "Recalculating." Because of their lack of trust in God, God is going to have them make a U-turn and head back down south again, along the Red Sea, back deep into the wilderness. A 40-year detour. Wow. Here's what captured my attention. Not only did their lack of trust in God's power cost them entrance into the land, they dragged their children into this mess also. Their children will suffer for their choice. Instead of growing up in a home with green backyards and swing sets and an awesome community, they're going to spend their entire childhood and beyond as nomads, wanderers in the wilderness. In this chapter we read, the story picks up again nearly 40 years later. The Israelites return to Kadesh. They are right back where they started 40 years ago, except this time, all those 20 years and older have died in the wilderness. Moses gathered this new generation of Israelites around them, and he tells them that they have a fresh opportunity to trust God, unlike their parents. That they need to recognize that God is leading them with the ultimate GPS, God's positioning satellite, and he can be trusted. They have a choice to make on whether they're going to take the turns that God instructs them to take and they must keep in mind that they are not in the car alone. In the back seat are their children, who will be affected by their decisions, just like they experienced when their parents were at the wheel. Our life is like a road trip. God wants to lead us every step of the way from his GPS. God sees the picture from the upper story, and he wants the very best for us. And he wants us to make it to the final destination. He wants us to enjoy the journey, but we have to trust him. When he calls out left, we need to go left. When he calls out right, we need to go right. When he says stop, we need to stop dead in our tracks. When he says go faster, we need to put the pedal to the metal. When he says bust through the barrier, no matter how big and bad it looks, we need to charge ahead in faith, like a scene out of an old Dukes of Hazzard episode. You see, God's GPS is instructing us on how we can live in the upper story of God's blessing and purpose, and we would be fools not to follow it. We also need to be reminded that whatever choice we make, there are others in the car with us. They will experience the blessing of our good decisions, and they'll experience the pain of our destructive decisions, as we've seen in our story today. God has a place of blessing he wants to take us to. In that place, as we live our lives for him, we will also be a blessing to other people around us, to serve them, to allow them to share in God's blessing in our life. We will be a blessing to them because as they see God working in us, they'll want to follow this God too. But to get to this place, we must trust him.
Powerful. To get to the place that God has for us, we have to trust him. We have to not lean on our own understanding like the children of Israel did. That got them in trouble. What did he say? 10 recorded times where they complained and murmured and God had to chastise them. And several times when God threatened to wipe them out off the face of the earth. But if we simply trust God, he knows where he's taking us. And so we don't have to continue to wander. We can just trust that the God who created us knows everything about us and knows where we are going. So let's head back into our trivia. And I think that I have question number 1 again. So I'm going to pop that one in. Let me see if I can bring that one in. Just let me try. Let's see. Since we messed it up the first time. Let's see if we can drop that one in. So here we go. Okay. I think this is the right one. And the question was, why did the Lord give the Israelites so much quail to eat? Was it A, he knew they were starving in the desert? Was it B, he knew the people had rejected him? Or C, he wanted to bless their obedience to him? Or was it D, he was displaying his power to the surrounding nations? So I'm going to go over those again. Why did the Lord give the Israelites so much quail to eat? Was it A, he knew they were starving in the desert? Was it B, he knew the people that rejected him? Was it C, he wanted to bless their obedience to him? Or D, he was displaying his power to the nations? Go ahead and drop those answers in. Leslie says it's B. Got a B from Leslie. Anybody else want to go ahead and take a guess at it or jump in? All right, only one brave soldier. All right, I'll go ahead and we're going to go through the answers. Lady Coretta says it's B. Valerie says it's A. And so here, let's go through all of the answers, starting with this one. Number 1, why did the Lord give the Israelites so much quail to eat? The answer is B. He knew the people had rejected him. So he was showing them they didn't believe Or even Moses said, how are you going to, feed meat to 600,000 men besides, women and children? And God was like, oh, let me show y'all. I can show you. So the answer to that was B. All right. And so let's go to trivia question number 2. And that was, why did Joshua and Caleb believe the Israelites could take the promised land? Was it A, they believed the Israelite army was better trained? Was it B, they believed they had the element of surprise? Was it C, they believed the protection of the Canaanite people was gone? Or D, was it they believed they had superior numbers? And the answer to that one was C. They believed that the protection of the Canaanite people were gone. God said he had taken that protection away. And so they were not protected anymore. All right, so let's go to question number 3. Question number 3 says, when Joshua was chosen to replace Moses, what spirit was recognized in him? Was it A, the spirit of leadership? B, the spirit of humility? C, he had a spirit of wisdom? Or D, he had a spirit of inspiration? Hello, Lady Bradley. Thank you so much for joining. And the answer to this one is A. He had a spirit of leadership. Moses saw the spirit of leadership in Joshua, and that is why he was chosen or selected to lead. And so let's go to our last trivia question, number 4. And that is, why did Moses challenge the people to choose life? Remember, it said choose life, life or death, blessings or cursing. What would you choose? Was it A, they would then be able to love the Lord their God? Was it B, they would then be able to listen to the voice of the Lord? Was it C, they would then be able to hold fast to God? Or D, was it all of the above? Which one? Why did Moses challenge the people? This is right before Moses is getting ready to go up on the mountain. And what the Bible says, to be gathered to his people. He's getting ready to look over at the promised land, and the Lord's going to take him. And he's going to die in the mountain. But before, he talks to them and he tells them to choose life. And so the answer for this one is D. Yes, D. All of the above. They'd be able to love the Lord. They'd be able to listen to the voice of the Lord and be able to hold fast to God if they chose life. So those are those. And let me tell you, when our church went through this study a couple of years ago, we would be so surprised. So I see Lady Coretta with your hand. We would be so surprised. We'd be like, I didn't think I knew I was right. But it would be wrong. But that just tells us how much we all need to stay in the Word, because even when I did it this time, I've still gotten some of them wrong. So it just lets us know how much we need to stay in God's Word, listen to Him, and be mindful that and that's going to actually carry over to one of the things that I wanted to talk about now. Because as we read this story, and as they talked about the 10 times that they were recorded 10 times, that as the children of Israel were going through the wilderness, how they kept rebelling, how they kept murmuring and complaining. And so I had a question. I want you all to help me out with this question. Why do you think the children of Israel had such a hard time trusting God? This was the same God that they had seen work miracles when they were in Egypt. How He just visited the 10 plagues on the Egyptians, to affect their exodus out of that land and give them freedom. They had just seen God open up the Red Sea and they walked through it. They'd seen God rain quail down from the sky. They'd seen God bring bread up from the earth. They had seen God bring water from a rock, but every single time they would not trust God. They would come up into a situation where it would seem like it was impossible, and then they would want to go back to Egypt. They would long for Egypt. They would remember what they had in Egypt and not trust that God was going to give them something. So I want to know from you all. So drop it in the comments. What do you think caused them to keep having these bouts of fear, these bouts of insecurity, and these bouts of doubt? What made the Israelites keep going in circles and wandering and wandering? I want to hear from some of you all. What do you think was some of that? What caused them to not trust? And feel free, just drop your insight, drop your answers. What do you think it was? Leslie says, I believe they focus more on Moses, the man, as the one leading them, and not God. That is so true. Often we look at what we can see. It was easier, and let me not say that. Moses was talking face to face to God, and so he had an experience with God. The Israelites experienced God through Moses, so that could very well be one of the reasons was they didn't have a relationship with God, and they were trusting Moses and maybe not really God. Valerie says, I'm going to pull these off real quick. Let's see. Their relationship with God was not there. Absolutely. Their relationship with God just wasn't there. And that can kind of, touch back to what Leslie said, was that they were looking to Moses. They were looking to someone they could see, and not necessarily to the God that was speaking to Moses. They were looking to Moses and not to God, who was actually the one making those miracles possible, creating those miracles for them. And here's some things that I pulled away from that, some lessons that I learned. And the first lesson was that the enemy fights our memory. One of the things that we can see so much in this particular Bible lesson was that the Israelites would have a fear. They would have a doubt about something, whether it was the Red Sea, whether it was not having anything to eat, whether it was not having anything to drink. And then God would perform a miracle. And for a season, they would be like, yes, the Lord, He is God. He is the ruler of heaven and earth. He does everything. And then time would go on. They'd be faced with another trial, and they would forget the God that opened up the Red Sea. They seemed to forget the God that, caused manna to come up from the ground. They would seem to forget the God that rained quail down. They would seem to forget all of these things. And so we have to even think about that in our own lives when we are confronted with different trials and situations and circumstances that we think that are impossible. But all we have to do is think back and to remember, I went through something like this before. God came through for me. So even though this may be difficult, even though I may not like where I am, I know that God will come through, that He will not fail me. He will not leave me without. God will remember me. And so we have to remember that the enemy is going to fight my memory. And so one of the things that I want us to start doing, and it's something that God has been really teaching me how to do, is to record your prayers and to journal your victories. Somebody put that in the comments. Record your prayers and then journal your victories. So even if that means that you need to buy a journal, and I'm trying to look around my room because I have so many journals. That's one of my things. I absolutely love journals. I make journals. Got some more journals coming. Y'all be on the lookout. But journal the prayer requests that you have before the Lord, journal them. And then go back and look over them. And every time you see a victory, record that victory. Journal that so that when you are going through difficult seasons, when you come through new trials, that you can just go back and say, I won't be afraid. God did that. I won't be afraid. I won't fear, because the same God that did that can do this. The same God that did that will do this. So I don't have to worry. I don't have to fret. God will take care of me. And he proved to the children of Israel through Moses, and heretofore when we go through the next one through Joshua, that he is a God that stands by his word. If he said it, he is going to do it. He doesn't make promises that he cannot and will not fulfill. So you do not have to fret. You do not have to worry. God is true to his word, and he will do exactly what he said. So record your prayers and journal your victories. I hope you all received something from our lesson on tonight, that you don't have to wander. All you have to do is trust in the God that is faithful to bring you through. And so just before we jump off, I always like to go through our movement. So I do want to go through our movement. It says, in the upper story where God lives, he creates the lower story where we live. His vision is to come down and be with us in a beautiful garden. The first two people reject God's vision and are escorted from paradise. Their decision introduces sin into the human race and keeps us from community with God. At this moment, God gives a promise and launches a plan to get us back. The rest of the Bible is God's story of how he kept that promise and made it possible for us to live or to enter a loving relationship with him. And the reason I keep going back to that is because I want you to, what that little short paragraph does is it gives us an overall picture of the entire Bible. That is the overarching theme of the story of the Bible. The story of God's love story for us is what happened, what he did, and now we are living and walking out the manifestation of what Christ did for us, giving us life. So that is our movement. And lastly, before we jump off, we know that we are coming up to Valentine's Day. And so I always like to offer one of the books that I wrote. It's called Dear Future Husband. It's for all my single sisters out there. They're believing God for husbands. Something I wrote several years ago, praying for, not about, but for the man that you are believing God to bring you. And so you can get that. You can either go to my website, CherylThomas.co, Dear Future Husband, or for my tech savvy people, you can go ahead and just point your phone to that QR code and grab one copy, a couple copies, so that you can have them in time for Valentine's Day for you or for a friend. If you know a single woman that is believing God for a godly husband, this would be the perfect companion for her. And before I jump off, I just want to say I love you all with the love of the Lord. Thank you so much for joining me week after week. If you haven't already shared this, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do so. If you're watching via YouTube and you haven't already hit that like button, I'm going to ask you to do that as well. Again, I love you all with the love of the Lord, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.
Hey friend, it's your girl Coach Cheryl, and I've got some exciting news from Becoming Engaged Enterprises. Our YouTube podcast, Becoming Engaged, has always been about inspiring, empowering, and connecting with each of you. And now we're taking this connection a step further. We're thrilled to announce that we are now offering exclusive sponsorship and announcement spots on our podcast. Imagine your brand or message being part of these empowering conversations, reaching an audience that's deeply engaged and passionate. Your message can be a part of this journey too. Whether you're promoting a service, launching a product, or sharing a cause close to your heart, this is your platform to shine. Join us in creating content that resonates, inspires, and makes a real difference for Christian women 40 plus and beyond. Visit our website or get in touch directly to explore how we can collaborate. Let's engage, inspire, and grow together. Let's get engaged.
Hello, dear listeners. Thank you for tuning into the Becoming Engaged podcast. Your support means the world to us and helps keep this podcast thriving. If you enjoy our content and wish to contribute, we have 3 convenient ways for you to donate. The first one is Cash App. It's quick, easy, and user-friendly, and perfect for instant support. The second way is Venmo. It's a simple and secure way to send your contribution. And number three, PayPal, for those who prefer a globally recognized platform. And donating is super easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now, and it will guide you to your preferred payment method. Every contribution, no matter the size, makes a significant impact. Thank you for your generosity and for being a part of our podcast family.